Hello, welcome to the DraftKings Daily Trot. I'm Big Italy 42 here talking about this ugly slate for tonight. And right at the top here, we've got Jason Hamill, Chris Heston facing off against each other in Chicago. Both these guys fine pitchers, but on a slate like tonight, these are the guys you're really considering. I mean, lowest total of the night at 7 runs. Jason Hamill, small favorite at home. Chris Heston, I think, is the guy I'll be looking at. He comes in at $500 less than Hamill. Obviously, Hamill has to face the San Francisco team that's top 5 offense against right-handed pitching. Heston gets to face a Cubs team that strikes out among the most in the league, 24.4% against right-handed pitching. So, and given the fact that he has a significantly higher ground ball rate, 17.6% higher, a lower home run per 9. He does have a lower strikeout rate and a higher walk rate, but for me, it's Chris Heston. I mean, I think he just has more chance of racking up some strikeouts than Hamill does. But slate like tonight, you don't feel great about any of these guys. But for me, I think Heston probably the lesser of all these evils here. I'm not playing Rodriguez against the Yankees. I don't like playing anyone against the Yankees right now, especially lefties. They're absolutely destroying the ball. I know last night may have been an anomaly, but it was a knuckleballer on the mound. So if there's ever an excuse, maybe that's one. Either way, I expect them to do big things again tonight. So does Vegas. They're listed at a 4.5 run total here today. So for me, avoiding him, I think Burley is way overpriced at $8,900. He's a guy I'll normally look to for tournaments because he does eat up innings. In fact, he's pitched 7 or more in all but all but one of his last 9 starts. Not a big strikeout guy though, but certainly a guy that can pitch deep. I think he's a nice secondary cash option that I don't mind here. But so probably Heston and Burley for me, but I don't love it. Minnesota does hit left-handed pitching pretty well. They're also a terrible offense on the road, though. So, I mean, take that for what you will. Mark Burley has actually been pretty good at home. I mean, he's 5-1. He's got a 3.09 ERA, 1.10 WHIP, so he doesn't give up a lot of hits. Also doesn't walk a lot of batters. I mean, it's an ugly slate when you're considering a guy like Burley at the Rogers Center. But other guys, Matt Wisler gets that weak Miami offense. Wisler coming off a terrible performance against Philly. But as I'm recording this, Zach Greinke is getting murdered by the Philadelphia Phillies. So, I mean, the Philadelphia Phillies have been getting to everybody right now. Wisler, I think, is an okay play tonight. Not a guy that strikes many batters out. 8 total strikeouts in his last 3 games. But that's a bad Miami offense, so I don't think he's a terrible option. Scott Feldman gets Oakland, but he's another guy that doesn't strike anyone out. Big ballpark, but $7,000 just seems still too much there. I guess the only other guy you consider down there is CC Sabathia at $7,300, but even that you don't like because a lot of these Boston guys hit righties pretty well or lefties pretty well, and CC Sabathia has just been terrible, and he's been even worse against right-handed batters. So really not a guy that I'm trying to target tonight either. Catchers, Brian McCann's your most expensive. I don't assume that he's going to play. Girardi mentioned giving him a couple days off, so I assume he won't be in the lineup. You can look at his teammate, John Ryan Murphy, at $2,500 if you need a punt play. A catcher, I think he's an okay option. Buster Posey has a tough matchup with Jason Hamill, a righty-righty. Hamill at $274, WOBA allowed to righties this season. Obviously, Posey is on the plus side in most matchups, though, so you're not terribly concerned there. But, you do have money to spend, certainly, tonight. Other options, Stephen Vogt against Feldman at $3,700 is an okay option, but I think if I'm not playing Heston, the guy I'm going to is Kyle Schwarber at $3,700. The guy's just mashing everybody since he came up batting .342, 5 homers, 15 ribbies. Gotta like him. Tournament option being Jason Castro at $3,400 against Brooks. And then, you consider the Toronto guys. You got Russell Martin at $4,100, Dioner Navarro $1,000 less at $3,100. Really the only guys I'm looking at tonight. First base options. Another guy that facing Heston. I mentioned Heston's biggest weakness is left-handed batters. Not terrible against them, .325 WOBA allowed, but they've certainly hit him at times. Anthony Rizzo, one of the hotter hitters on the planet after that big cold streak he went through. Rizzo's mashing the ball right now. $5,700 though is a steep price tag for him. Mark Teixeira, $5,400. Gotta like him. Those are your top 2 options easily, I think. Not sure if David Ortiz will play. Whether he does or not, he has not hit left-handed pitching well today, so I really won't be playing him. Edwin Encarnacion, same price as him at $4,200. I like him. I like Mike Napoli at $3,600. I think he's a very interesting option. Hits lefties well. Mentioned Sabathia's struggles .395 WOBA and 21 home runs to righties so far this year. So definitely a guy you want to be picking on tonight. Justin Smoke at 2,500. Your cheap option if you, for some reason, are punting first base, but I will not be. Another thing I will definitely be doing here today is paying for Brian Dozier at $4,800. Mark Burley, mentioned, not a bad pitcher. 296 WOBA allowed to righties, but Dozier by far and above the best second base option here. I think you've got Jose Altuve in a fine matchup against Aaron Brooks, but he hasn't been great recently. He's got one stolen base in his last 10 games. During that stretch, he only has 2 multi-hit games. So, I mean, I'm not saying not to play Altuve, but I think Dozier is certainly your best play there, especially considering he's hitting at the Rogers Center and Altuve's an O.co. D. Gordon gets Matt Whistler. He's got the platoon advantage, 4,500. You can certainly look at him, but if he's not stealing bases, he doesn't have a lot of upside. I think he's an okay cash option, though. Luis Valbuena always in play when he's got the platoon advantage in tournaments at 3,900. At O.co, though, it's a big park, so we know Valbuena, when he makes contact, goes a long way, though, so I don't mind him. And then your other option is going to be Ryan Goins, $2,300. Second base shortstop eligibility on DraftKings. Gets Kyle Gibson. I mean, you expect Toronto to do a lot of things. This guy now has the protection of Troy Tulowitzki batting behind him when he's hitting ninth, so you got to like that for a very cheap price tag. Next up, third base, Josh Donaldson is $6,200, but he may very well be worth it tonight. You don't have much pitching to pay for. Donaldson has homered in 4 of his last 5 games, 5 of his last 7. The guy's absolutely on fire. Gotta love the matchup. Anytime they're in the Rogers Center. Kyle Gibson's not a terrible pitcher, but not expecting him to do much tonight. So next up behind him, Alex Rodriguez, another guy you gotta love. Really in any format, $5,300. Let down last night, but a lot of the Yankees were. I'm going back to the well here if I'm not going Donaldson. I do think Donaldson definitely the top play, though. Miguel Sano has hit righties a lot better than lefties this year, so I think I prefer his teammate, Trevor Plouffe. Also comes for $100 less. I think he's a fine option. Chase Headley, switch hitter, $4,200. You can certainly look his way, but like I said, I'm paying up at third base. If there's anyone else I'm looking at that's cheap down here, Pablo Sandoval is $2,900. If for some reason you're punting, trying to be different, those top guys are going to be very high owned. Go that route. Or Adonis Garcia, $2,000 flat minimum. You can get him down there and maybe stack up your bats elsewhere, but I still think Josh Donaldson probably the top overall bat on the slate for me tonight. Shortstops, Carlos Correa, Troy Tulowitzki, both those guys, once again, your top options. I think those guys head and shoulders above the rest. Brooks and Gibson, both those guys contact pitchers. Definitely looking at these two guys. Take your pick. Maybe alternate both these guys in. Jed Lowry is your swerve off them. I don't want to pay $4,900 for him, but he's been hitting really well since he came back up. And like I said, on a night like tonight, you're not paying a lot for pitching, so you've got plenty of money to spend. Xander Bogaerts, $4,100, kind of pricey for me in this matchup, despite being a righty against Sabathia. Much prefer his teammate, who's not really a shortstop, Hanley Ramirez at $4,000. I think that he's a great option. I don't recommend paying down for shortstops. I think these top guys are by far the top guys. So, I mean, Ryan Goins, the second baseman I mentioned, I'd probably play him if I'm punting, but probably not a route I'll be taking. You can look at Marcus Semien, I suppose, at $3,100 because he does have some power against Scott Feldman. Outfield options, Jose Bautista at home. Gotta like him, $5,200, tons of power. Ellsbury Gardner, certainly going back to the well with these guys. Yankees, like I said, highest team total on the night at 4.5. Toronto tied with them as well. I like Carlos Gomez against Oakland at $4,400. The guy can do it all. Stole a base last night. Didn't have a great game, but 1 hit, and he was aggressive when he did get on base. So, I'm sorry, it was not a hit. It was a run or a walk, and then he scored a run. But either way, I like him because he's versatile. Torrey Hunter, an interesting play tonight, as is Aaron Hicks. Both those guys against Mark Burley, I like them quite a bit. Hanley Ramirez, I mentioned at shortstop. You can play him in the outfield. Other options, Chris Colabello's at $3,700. He's not a bad option if you're trying to get yourself some cheaper Blue Jays exposure. Christian Yelich, platoon advantage against Matt Whistler, isn't a bad option. Preston Tucker, another guy to consider here. Listed as day-to-day, he was available as a pinch hitter yesterday. So certainly a guy that you can consider. I love his upside. I assume he's healthy enough to go. I assume he'll be in the lineup. But if not him, you want around that price. Got a lot of great options. Chris Young against the lefty is a lock for me in cash games every single time. Going to be tough to find your pitchers today, but you know one hitter you want, at least for me, Chris Young. You can go with his teammate Carlos Beltran, but I'll save the $100. Not that it makes a difference, but Chris Young just a much better hitter against lefties. Rusney Castillo at $2,900. Great cheap option to get yourself a piece of CC Sabathia, but make sure he's in the lineup before you do. And then your cheap guy, Ichiro Suzuki, $2,100. Also Adonis Garcia at $2K. Those are your punt plays here. Good luck tonight. More of a GPP night for me, but it's going to be a fun one. So check out all of our great content at Daily Fantasy Cafe and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we'll see you next time.